pop. Where is he? He can pop in anytime you want. We'll talk a little parenting since the pro wrestling dad is here. So I gave up today with my kids because I spent the whole first half of the day cleaning the house, picking up and doing normal stuff, and then I just stop and I look, and it's like they just literally follow me and mess up everything that I do while I'm doing it. And it's Thursday, so it's the fourth day in a row that they've done this. So I kind of gave up today. I was like, whatever, you guys just do what you want. That's my parenting breakdown of the day. What you gonna do, Ray? How you doing?
How are you?
Oh, spectacular. Can you hear us good?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sound great. First and foremost, thanks for giving us your time tonight.
Oh, I was having some sort of issue connecting. I just couldn't figure out this dang Zoom link thing, and finally I had my daughter show me, and she figured it out. So
that's the way life works. Well, she probably was using Zoom, or no, maybe not for her school because Zoom is.
yeah, she was using Zoom. Well, she uses Zoom for her school stuff, and she was also using it just to talk to her friends and stuff. And I'm sitting there trying to like copy and paste, and nothing's popping up. And then I go copy the link's not popping up. She was like, "You got to type this part in," and then I type it in, and it pops right up. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that's hey. In today's day and age, these kids know technology. I don't know how old your daughter is, but I have three daughters. 12, 8, and one's gonna be 5 soon. They know more technology than I do. So
I told her she knows, but yeah, when it comes to this kind of stuff, she's at her computer every day. It's the only way she really gets to talk to her friends and stuff. Granted, she's starting back in school Monday, so she's going to finally be back like in person. But she spent the whole last year, just doing
that
Zoom hangouts and stuff like that.
Starting school already, like so next week, or what'd you say next week? That's
yep. They have like a year-round schedule, so like they have a couple bigger breaks throughout the year. They have more breaks, but just not as long.
Okay.
And then they go into summer, a little bit longer, and then come out and then come back a little bit, sooner. But then through the year, they have what are they called? Intersessions is what they're called. And then so they have instead of just having let's say you get a 3-day weekend, instead of doing a 3-day weekend, they'll have that whole week off.
Oh, nice.
And they have a couple of those. So then they kind of break it up so then there's not like a 3-month summer and then they come back to school and they forgot everything they know and they're just a bunch of idiots.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's better. I think that works better.
Because when I was in the Army, they had and same as when I went to school, they had the traditional, you have a couple 3-day weekends, you have Christmas break, which might be 10 days long, and then you have summer, and then you're just done. It feels like forever. Not as a kid, it probably feels really short. But for these guys, yeah, they just have a bunch of little breaks, and then but they're basically going year round.
Yeah, my kids need to start back up with school. They're all summered out. Get them back in, because they haven't been. Well, they sort of been in and have seen their friends, but they're gonna be back in. Oh, knock on wood. But anyways,
email today saying that the kids are gonna have to wear masks in school now. They just put that in place today. Where before we were just in the school, kind of we were picking up packets, meeting teachers and stuff the other day, and everyone's wandering around no masks or anything like that. And then we just got emailed today saying that K through 6th grade, you all have to wear masks now, no matter if you've been vaccinated or not, and all this. So feels like they're kind of taking a step backwards, but hopefully it's for the best.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, none of this is on my notes. I was telling my wife today, I got a bad feeling. I'm in New York. I'm not quite sure where you're located. Vanessa's in Canada. But I was telling my wife today, I go, I think this is cool. We're they're all talking about going back to school, and I just got this bad feeling it's just we're gonna go backwards. I don't know. I'm very pessimistic too sometimes, and I just
always felt that way the whole I don't know, ever since like when things opened up, I was like, okay, sweet, everything's opening up. We got back to wrestling and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But there was always like that in the back of your head. There was like, yeah, this seems well and good, but it seems like they're definitely going to. It depends on where your head is. Like either it's like you can be like a conspiracy theorist about it, like they're gonna let you off the reins and be like, but look at this thing, which then now is like the Delta variant stuff, and they're like, oh, but now you see this, now you have to come back and go back into quarantine or go back into everyone wearing masks or whatever. I was like I even like here, I live in Michigan. I walked into Walmart the other day and this lady just handed me a mask. I had my headphones in, so I didn't. She might have asked me, like, do I want to wear it or not? But I was just like, she handed me a mask. I was like, what happened? I was like, maybe I missed something on the news or something. I just put it on and then grabbed whatever I was getting and got out of there. And then as I was walking through, I seen people not wearing it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe she asked me if I wanted it or something. I wasn't paying attention. But I was like, man, that's a hard step by Walmart because they're out here handing masks out at the front door.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anyways, there's our COVID update of the night. Anyways, so I did all this research and we're gonna get to it. Your military, the DTA, all that fun stuff. But I did it all, and then I got to the end and I found out that you're the pro wrestling dad. So I went back and watched because they were a while ago. And I went back and watched them, and I swear to God, I was laughing so hard today. I saw a promo that you were cutting on your wife about making lunches for school. What was why the pro wrestling dad? What was behind that?
I don't know how it came about, but like when I got home from the Army, I had like I had like 2 months of leave that I was getting paid for. So like I basically was just at home with the kids. I was happy as hell to be home. I was getting paid by the military still because of all the leave days I'd saved up and stuff. So we were just kind of sitting around the house, and I was basically just like a stay-at-home dad, just kind of hanging out. And I didn't really know what to do, and I was bored. And I always liked making videos. And me and my daughter, we're super close, and we're always hanging out and messing around. And she's very similar to me. She likes making videos, and she's, she wants to be like a streamer and all the bullshit that I don't know if we can swear or not.
You're fine.
Sorry, but
you're good.
Okay. And then it's kind of like one day it just kind of hit me. It was like, this is what happens in my head every single time that any of these interactions happens. Like regardless if it was something like, because I remember getting the thing that led up to this video was like, I take the kids to school every day, and I usually pack their lunches while like my wife would be getting ready for work or whatever, and all this stuff, and I'm doing all this stuff, and then it was like something just like that of like basically the exact way it's like manufactured in the video is just like I'm sitting there packing lunches. She popped in and she's like, hey, don't forget to pack the kids' lunches, and I'm sitting there packing them, and I was like, this bitch. And then I go into my head, and then I just start going off in my head about all this stuff, and I'm like, of course I'm going to do it. I'm going to pack this, I'm going to pack this, and I was like. And that's a funny thing because that happens not even just for wrestlers, but that happens for everybody.
Yes, I agree.
And so we just like we did that one, and that one just kind of sat around for a while until I kept getting these messages of like, dude, you got to do more of these. You have to do more. You have to do more. And I was like, okay, well then we'll come up. And I did, we did like 2 or 3 other ones, and then we took like another break of just not putting them together. It's more just laziness by me, and like and then one day it was around the time that my daughter started like talking to a boy.
Okay.
And then it hit me all over again. And I was like, this is a thing. Like, this is so funny. And then we set up the whole thing. And then this was like, I don't know, like in my head, I was like, this is a big return. We want to make it a big deal. So we went and like shot in different areas, and just, we had a bunch of different people involved. And that one was like super successful. Depending on, I guess, what scheme, but like that was the one I always heard about. It was either the pack the lunch one or the boyfriend one. Okay. And because there's a part where I'm like pushing my daughter down the stairs, and it looks like I'm pushing her down the stairs, obviously not, but like, but it was just a big thing. And then we led on to do like a handful more. And then the last one we did was basically right before my son got sick. Was like a Thanksgiving one. And that kind of all derived from the same idea of like, wasn't for Easter, but he had whipped cream, and he basically just put a whole damn thing of whipped cream on his piece of pie he was eating.
Pumpkin pie one. That's right.
So then the pumpkin pie thing came. I was like, man, this happened in real life. Yeah. And like I say, it wasn't for Thanksgiving, but it happened in real life. And then we were like, man, that's a perfect thing to make because this is something he actually did. And then obviously we just jazzed it up and made it more ridiculous. But, and And then, like I said, a couple months after that's when he got sick, so we hadn't really done anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was talking with Vanessa before as well, as I heard the whole story with your song, Quiet Strong, and you. I apologize to the podcast you were talking to because I don't remember the name, but you told the whole story of how it all went down, and I was crying listening to it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do the whole story because it was I'm a parent and it was affecting me listening to it. So I'll just ask you this. How's Wyatt doing? Because when I listened to the second part of this podcast, when you would talk about going to the hospital to visit him, you were so pumped. He's doing, we're just hanging out, we're having fun. You talked well, we'll just leave it at that. How's he doing?
I mean, we're kind of in a whole new chapter. Actually, it's funny how this all comes up because I'll get into a whole third part now, I guess, of like he's starting school again. And today I was going grocery shopping, and and tomorrow we're going school shopping and stuff. But he just had his, meet the teacher and everything, and like my wife has been super worried about it because he has palsy on the left side of his face, and he was like one of the things he brought up to us, which was heartbreaking, was that he didn't want to go back to school until his face was fixed.
Oh.
And that was heartbreaking because he knows that something's wrong. So he knows that stuff is wrong because he was obviously he wasn't healthy. He had a fucking gigantic brain tumor, but as far as anyone knew, he was healthy. He was able to, ride bikes. He was jumping on trampoline. He had no symptoms other than just occasionally threw up. So to him, he knows that it's not normal, but to hear him understand it at that level was really, really hard for us as parents.
Yeah.
And, worrying. We were like, and I had all my, my best friends are all obviously wrestlers, and they're family to him. He would consider them his uncles, and like all the DTA boys and stuff like that. And the teacher was just like one of the counselors or whatever. They were like, hey, you guys can come to school and talk to these kids, and if you want to come in here, and obviously like I'm a bigger guy, and my guys are bigger guys, and well, some of them are, some of them aren't. And if you guys want to come to talk to these kids and kind of like put a little fear of God in them to make sure that they're not getting out of the line, then you can. And that was always an option for us. And that was like, my wife was really, really pushing for it. And the past couple of weeks, my daughter had just went up north with her uncle, my brother, and because he has a daughter that's around the same age. So they're like best friends. They're up north hanging out, and me and Wyatt are kind of stuck home alone. And we're just like, man, I want to do something fun with him. Because he's sad he couldn't go up north because he's a little, for him, it's a little too high maintenance, and he's kind of the third wheel. And so he couldn't go up there with them this time. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do fun stuff. So there's a thing here in Flint called the Kids Museum. It's basically just a big interactive play place for little kids. And I took them there like 3 different times. And the first time I took them there, this is getting super long-winded, but the first time I took them there, it was like this little girl wanted to play with him so bad, and she didn't see anything wrong with him. She didn't know anything was wrong. She just happened to encounter him, and they were playing, and like there's this like the whole place has different gimmicks between different parts of the building, and they're like in this like pizza restaurant, like making fake pizzas and all this shit. And she wants to play with him, and I can see it in his eyes that he wants to, but he doesn't want to speak to her because then she will know that something's like wrong with him. And even to the point where the little girl's grandma was like, hey, just leave him alone. And I was like, no, keep bothering, because he's gonna as soon as you break it, he's gonna go all in. And then we a couple more minutes, next thing you know, he's laughing and yelling, and he's running around the best he can, and he's in his mind in this moment nothing's wrong. And then now we're there for like hours, and I hate doing anything like this for more than like 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm like I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, dude, are you ready to go? And he just looks at me, and he's like, no. And I was like, man, I'm hungry. Aren't you hungry? Why don't we go get something to eat? And he looks at me, and then he looks over at the pizza place, and he's like, we just ate pizza. And I'm like, bitch, that's fucking cardboard fake pizza over there. Don't lie to me. I'm trying to go. And he's like, no, we got to stay and play. My friend is here. And I'm like, okay, dude, sweet. So now he's like, he's completely out of his, he's completely out of his shell, and he's just so pumped to be with kids again, and like not only from being sick, but just from being in COVID and not having a lot of interaction with kids. He's so excited, and so nothing else matters to him. And we're there for hours. And then at one point they're sitting on this little fake fire truck gimmick, and and I can see it. He's sitting there, and the little girl, you know, they can see that something's wrong, but they don't care. They want to play, and they're like, "Hey, Wyatt, you go sit up here and sit up there on the like to drive the fire truck." And he's sitting there, and he's zooming around, and at one point he kind of just stops, and I can see he's so tired, and he's just like, okay, like we're just chilling, everything's good, I'm relaxed. And the next thing you know, the kids jump off, they're like, okay, let's go. And he's just like, oh shit, okay, let's go. And so anyway, so we did that a couple times, and I'm really starting to feel confident in the idea that he will be fine being in school as soon as he kind of gets out of his shell. And so when we meet his teachers and stuff, he's super excited, and he's not worrying about any of this stuff. My wife's super worried.
Yeah. And
the teacher asked, like, do you guys want to come talk? And I was like, at this point, I don't think it's necessary. I think he will be fine. Kids are going to ask questions. He knows what's wrong with him. He can say what's wrong if he wants to. If he chooses not to, then it's not these fucking little kids' business.
Yeah.
So, it can be up to him to open up as he feels. And then if these little bastards start slanging slanderous words, then the pro wrestling dad will come up to the school. But I can hope, just by the interactions with the kids that I've seen him with recently, that he's going to be able to hold his own. And on top of that, so to segue off of everything, is that everything's going extra good. They want him to go back to school. They even pulled back his like PT and OT and speech therapy because they feel like he's gotten to a point where really all he needs is just going out and getting real life experience instead of coming there and being in this, very just kind of be, they bring him in there and they put him like basically in a box to do one thing to help with one certain, individually thing. And he's not getting like he needs to be out climbing on stuff. He needs to be running around. Right. He needs to be all these other things, where when he first came out of the hospital, he wasn't even able to walk or talk. He could hardly feed himself. And now he's to the point where, you could just leave him sitting around all day. And as long as you're supplying him with entertainment and food, you could go all day without even talking to him.
Just like everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just like everything's going great. And like I said, he's starting school. He's super excited. We're nervous, but excited.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, everything's going great.
That is a phenomenal, excellent part 3. It only to me, I've heard all 3 parts, and I left off at the brain needed to reconnect, get the synapses firing again, and now this. He's going to school. He's gonna have the same anxiety and stressors and have fun as my kids are gonna have going back to school, and that's awesome. So awesome. Anyways, let's get on to wrestling now. So what's your first memory of wrestling?
My first fan being a fan, I was at my grandma's house, and she was a huge wrestling fan from like the 80s and early 90s, and that was like my first time of seeing it. And I the only thing I really remember out of it was like Jake the Snake throwing the snake in the ring at somebody, and I just remember thinking like, man, I hate this, like this. And it just like, and at the time, it was a bunch of guys in tights, and it's just like, it just seemed like something I was just not ready to be a part of. Like I was too self-conscious about myself. I was too self-conscious about my weight and how I looked. And I just seen that as like, that's a better term at the time. Obviously I wouldn't say this now, is like, that's gay. And like, I can't do that. And then as I got older, and obviously I, was kind of brought back into an accident, seeing it again, just kind of flipping through the channels, I was well past that. I'd done wrestling in school. I was wearing singlets and stuff. And I was past that kind of like self-conscious stage of it, and being like, and then I remember seeing like the cruiserweights, and I was like, this is absolutely insane.
WCW,
like I can't believe, yes. Yeah. And like I just remember, it was just like, it was Hoovy and Jericho rather, and a bunch of just random guys and with masks who
Psychosis, La Parka, all those guys.
Seeing these guys like in big like 6-man scrambles, and like they're flipping and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I like watching this. And then it would kind of go back to the other stuff, and I'd be like, this is whatever. And I would just kind of be like, I was very casual. And if I got to see that stuff like Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko and stuff like that, I'd be like, man, this is sweet. Whatever this is, they're really beating each other up. This looks like they're really, you know, they really are hitting each other. I'm really into this. And then I said, then you'd go out and watch like a Vincent match. I was like, this sucks. And then, but then when I was like hooked, was flipping through the channels and then finding the Chainsaw Charlie, Cactus Jack, and the New Age Outlaws. And it was like they were like showing clips of like the dumpster match, and then like Road Dogg pile drove Mankind through a table, and then I was like, oh, this is something different. Like this is, I was like, this is me. Like this is what I want. And then from that point, then I was just like, I was hooked forever and ever.
Yeah, and the road back then, like Billy Gunn, prototypical wrestler's body. The Road Dogg, he literally looked like your roadie. Like literally. Maybe with a bandana, but great on the mic. New Age Outlaws, extremely underrated tag team in my mind. Extremely underrated.
I always say like the New Age, even like the first time I'd met Billy Gunn, I was just like, well, no, the first time I said hi, and then I ran away like a coward because I was like so starstruck. And I don't even like that's not something I usually do, but there was something like this Billy Gunn that I was just like, this is my guy. Like, and like so the first time I ever got to meet him, I was just like, hi, nice to meet you. And I ran off like Stewie. And then like the next time I got to meet him, we were doing a show together. We are doing like a Legends of Wrestling tour.
Okay.
And we were like, I had a match, and he was in the main event, and I'm just like, filling the spot or whatever. And he's out there doing his bands and stuff, warming up. And I was like, hey, I just wanted you to know that like you're one of the reasons why I fell in love with wrestling. He was like, that's awesome, man. And we like talked for a minute, and I was just like, oh my God, I was like talking to like your crush in school. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, this is the biggest deal of all time. And this is a couple years in. This is like while I'd already been doing cool stuff, and I've already been around for a while. I've met a bunch of cool people, and I got to wrestle a bunch of cool people. But there was just something about meeting Billy Gunn that just like it reconnected me to why I love wrestling. So I was just so nervous to be around him.
You also met the Road Dogg.
And to then bring kind of full circle of like, I wouldn't necessarily call it my highlight, but like the peak of, everything you dream of as being a wrestler. Then I get a chance to wrestle for WWE, and then Road Dogg is our agent for the match. And, he says like, basically the thing that always sticks with me now when I'm either like helping people with wrestling or when I'm planning stuff for myself is just like, he told me, he was like, you have to come up in this corner. You have to take your time. You have to stand here. This is your moment. And if you don't do this right, then the camera's going to be on Baron Corbin, and it'll be like you're not even there. And I was just like, okay. And then I came up, and then, and the kind of the rest is history. I got this 15 seconds of fame of being able to stand in a WWE ring in front of 11,000 people or whatever, and stand across the ring of Baron Corbin live on TV in front of millions and millions of people, all this sweet stuff, and actually make a moment out of just being there. And it's just like, it's something I always say, it's like, this is something that no one can ever take away. No matter if I stop wrestling today, there's so many little things, and this one's big, but it's like, there's little things that no one will ever be able to take away from me and tell me that I didn't, make it.
Right. Yeah. You can't. You can say that the rest of your life. You stood in the ring facing poor Baron Corbin, with the conquistador there. Same stuff. Now, let's get to the Death Threat Army. Who is it? What's the origin story? What's their mission statement?
There's a lot that goes into it. So it's just like there's a ton of people in it, more prominent than not. But it started with my set when I was in the military. I was stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia, and I had met a medic named Jamie Hall at a wrestling show. And I knew he was in the Army just kind of based on just looking at him. And then he also had like a medic book bag as his like gear bag. And a mutual friend connected us, and then he was stationed at the same place as I was. And I was like, man, like, this is awesome. I finally like have a wrestling friend down here, and someone who's actually a wrestler. Cause like when I first got to Georgia, I ended up in a lot of like what we would consider probably like backyard wrestling places, just trying, because there was nothing close to me. And I didn't really have the connects to go places until I'd met a guy named Lamar Phillips, and he was, Jamie and I, and we started tagging up, and we were just known as Death Threat. And then as we kind of got bigger in the area, and it just kind of like, I don't know, it's one of those things that's kind of just like a give me as a baby face. Like we're military guys.
Yeah.
And the fans just loved us. And I would like to believe that we're good wrestlers as well, but we became like super big baby faces in these like couple of promotions that we were working for around Georgia, and then eventually it just became like people just referred to us as the Death Threat Army because we were in the Army, and then that became DTA, and that's kind of where it started. And then we tagged for a couple of years, and then Jamie was deploying to Poland, and he was gone for basically the rest of the time I was still stationed in Georgia. And when I came home, I didn't want to just do Death Threat without him. And but I also knew we couldn't do Death Threat together. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to bring in Jack Price. And that's where the idea of it kind of being like a faction and then also being like the Army is like it's going to be guys that they're always going to be guys that we believe in. And most of them are always super young guys, either like Tommy Vendetta came out of, I always say that came out of my balls. And I trained him, and I trained a couple of the guys, and then they just like fit the ideals that we kind of believe in, or that I see as like what fits our gift. Because there's plenty of guys that like we've trained or help out or travel with us that they don't need DTA because they're doing great on their own, or like their look and their gimmick or whatever they're doing that's making them successful doesn't fit what we do. So then there's no reason to like hinder them with what we're doing when it doesn't have like the same look or feel. And so then Jack and I started tagging, and we did well like in the Midwest-ish area. And then when we started traveling to Super Kicked, I just happened to we just got like this randomly put into a tag match. Me and Tommy Vendetta did, just as like, hey, we need a tag match. Aaron's here. Aaron, do you have any guys with you? Yes, I have Tommy Vendetta. Okay, we'll throw you guys in a tag match. I'm like, okay, sweet, that's awesome. And then we just had like, and he's from the Marines, and from the day I met him, I always knew that he was a special person to me. Just like the brotherhood that we shared between wrestling and the military, and then just our personalities and everything just kind of clicked right away. And then from there, that's when Tommy and I kind of just blew up, and we wrestled all over Canada, and then came back through Michigan, and now we're traveling the United States as a tag team. And then we have a lot of guys throughout the faction, or whatever you'd call it, who, like I always try to think like, man, the guys have to fit something. And then, but it also just like better than like my kids in some weird way, or like my little brothers, and kind of like figuring out how to help them get to the next level. Because something I always thought to myself was like, when I was coming up, like I went like 7 or 8 years without really knowing myself, and not like I felt like, and I always had people that would kind of pull me aside and be like, hey, you should do this, or hey, think about this. But I never had like a mentor that like took me under their wing and like told me these things that I needed to know. And like the guys that I had with me, or the guys who were helping me out, they didn't really know better other than just kind of like their niche little things that they did. And I always just felt like when I find these guys and I see, I don't know what it is, but they just have like some sort of intangible thing about them. If they want to be with us, and I feel like we can help them elevate themselves to a certain level, then that's what we're here for. Because I don't want anyone to waste 7 years. And I don't think what I do is a waste, because obviously it took me to where I am now. But like, I don't want people to like, I think that you can get from point A to point B to point C to all the way to, the point Z way faster than I did. And I want to make sure that like, if I see something and I believe in them, Death Threat was kind of like the original way, is like, Jack and I had kind of built the Death Threat name in our area. So if someone else had that name attached to them, promoters were a lot more likely to give them a chance and get them on a show, and then they could do the rest once they're on the show. And then there's plenty of shows where a bunch of the Death Threat guys will be on the show, but we're not affiliated with each other. We're not necessarily in a faction. It's almost just like the brand, where it's like, we're just representing the brand of what we do. And then that's kind of like, that's kind of where we are now. It's just like we in Michigan, definitely we do a lot of things that are faction heavy, just because we have a very big presence. in this area and stuff. So a lot of people know us. They follow all the videos. They follow us on social media. They know that how super close we are. They know that my kids are their kids, and we're spending time outside of the ring together, outside of wrestling together, and so they see this like brotherhood. So when they see you at a show, they associate everyone together. So they don't see like, oh, these guys have to hate each other, or these guys have to do this, or these guys have to do that. They just see us as one big family. But there's plenty of shows still where we go to and we're just guys representing the brand that we all believe in.
For the brand. Your XICW Midwest Heavyweight Champion, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your Horror Slam Tag Team Champion with Jack Price, DTA. You have an MMA background, obviously a military background. For the people that are going to see this on YouTube or hear it or are live right now on Twitch watching it, how would you describe your in-ring style? Like, who's it influenced by? Who's it resemble?
I always go to Stone Cold.
Okay.
Not that I just feel like Stone Cold always said this, and it was just like when he walks through the curtain, it's real to him. Yeah. Which is why everyone believed what he did, and that's the very first thing I always think about. It's like I don't want to go out there and not believe it, because if I don't believe it, they're not going to believe it. So I'm just like a very aggressive guy, and I guess I would have like a brawl. Like I always just kind of think like. One time I was compared to like Rambo, and the idea that I'm not nearly as cool as Rambo, but he was just like a kind of a grungy guy who had this background, of like a military trained background, but he was also this like savage animal out in Vietnam, just running around crazy. And so it's like Stone Cold was always kind of like the first thing. It's like I love Stone Cold as a wrestler, but I also love him as a personality. And it's like that's who I strive to be like. But then I would say like. There's a couple guys who influenced me from like early 2010 Sammy Callahan, where Dragon Gate USA Sammy Callahan.
Okay.
That like his franticness about how he moved around the ring and stuff was always like a big like. I remember watching these Dragon Gate USA shows and seeing him just like he was nuts, and he was just everything about him was so frantic. It always felt like when he was out there, you were getting caught in like a bank robbery, and you were just like you were just like a you were just like a civilian there freaking out like a bystander in this crazy emotion that he was bringing out when he came out of the crowd, when he started running spots, or he was beating the shit out of somebody. It was always something like that. I was like, oh man, like this guy he's insane. And so that's kind of where I started developing like this. Like I wanted to be super aggressive, because it's not who I am in my regular life. It's not like I'm just running around beating my kids, but like I'm a very I'm a very direct person, and then a lot of the stuff kind of came from like mentorship from like Elgin and Tyson Dukes and certain things just about like how to make things that you do feel real. And not like I love chain wrestling, and like you see this chain stuff, and it's just like, and Tyson Dukes is the best example of it. Of like you see like this chain, and it's just like these dance holds back and forth, and it's just like a dance. And he was always big on like all these holds mean something. They have a purpose. They have a meaning. So like don't disrespect the people, especially with MMA so big now. Like don't disrespect the people who know what like an armbar actually feels like, or a wrist lock, or like a key lock or anything. Like or a headlock even. Like don't disrespect these people. Make them feel what that guy's feeling or that girl's feeling. Make them feel it. And that's that's kind of it. I don't know.
That'll work. Yeah, we've had Tyson on here for almost probably a year ago by now. Yeah, and that's definitely what he preaches, and that's what he says. And another guy who makes things real in the ring is Josh Alexander, and you're taking him on, I believe, September 25th for Pure Pro Wrestling, if I'm not mistaken. What can we expect to see in that match? What do we got going down there?
This match is big to me.
Yeah.
So like I won't say what promotion it was for, but I wrestled for a promotion, and I wrestled there twice, and I wasn't brought back, and I was just like, and that happens. Obviously, like I'm not the best wrestler in the world or anything like that, But then I hear through the grapevine about why I wasn't brought back, and it was because I looked too much like Josh Alexander. And I was just like, how in the fuck? I was like, we don't even look alike. Like, we don't look alike at all. And then one day, Josh had posted a picture of him, like 5 or 6 years ago, and we look identical. Like, we look like the exact same person. And I was like, oh, we do look alike. Holy shit. And then like a really good friend of mine, Jody, like went to his school when he was running it, and then he also was at Destiny when we were wrestling there, and so I became very familiar with him. Not like on a personal level, just watching his matches and loving his matches, um, and then when he got an Impact and got into his own, I was already in love with how he wrestled, right. And I was like everything about him. I was like, man, this is exactly what I love. Like this is everything I love about wrestling is what Josh Alexander is. And then, and this is just a little side fact. I probably watched that Iron Man match between TJP and Josh Alexander more than any one person on this entire earth. I have sat and watched that match. I do like a half-hour cardio every day, and I watched there was like, especially when it first aired on YouTube, I watched the first half hour the one day, the second half hour the second day, and I did that every day for like 3 weeks straight. And I just could not get enough of it because everything about Josh Alexander is everything that I would love to be able to be, of just like everything he does feels real. Everything he does you can connect with, because it's not just like the song and dance. He's legitimately the best wrestler in the world for my money going right now. And I was just talking to my buddy Jake at a show we were at, and and he's wrestling him on Impact, I think this week in like the next TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And I thought it had already been pre-taped, and I was like, dude, how is this? How is this? Because I know he's wrestled him on like indie shows and stuff, but he hasn't wrestled him kind of like since Josh has been in like the peak of being like the best wrestler breathing. And I was like, man, how is this? And he was just like, man, you just gotta get you. And it wasn't taped yet, but he was just like, from his experience, you gotta get your cardio up and you gotta be ready for a fight. And I was like, well, fuck, that's all I am is cardio and ready for a fight. That's all I fucking know. So this, besides this match, the one match that was super important to me was me versus Trey. And and then we had that match, and it was everything that I could have ever wanted. And this is the next thing of like, this is the person that I want to test myself against, because this is the guy that I look up to if I'm going to watch wrestling. If I'm going to sit down and watch wrestling, I'm either watching something crazy like the Young Bucks or Top Flight, or these dudes who are going to go absolutely insane and do things that my body could never dream about doing. Or I'm watching Josh Alexander. I'm watching Tyson Dukes. So it's just like I finally get to step into the ring with this guy who, like I said, I think the world of, and I'm going to back and also deliver a fucking ass beating, because I know he wouldn't want any other way, and I certainly don't want it any.
Excellent. Yeah, we're big Josh Alexander fans. Look forward to that match. September 25th. Pure Pro Wrestling for sure. Listening to you talk, not only tonight, but also on the shows I prepped to prepare for you. You give back to younger wrestlers. I've gathered, like their mentor. You just have a good mind for the business. That's what I've gathered. Not only are you great in the ring, and I think you give me Impact vibes, obviously with Josh Alexander, but just the way they work over there. But you talked a lot about coaching. You talked a lot about like production aspects of wrestling. So using your social media presence. Is that an avenue you're looking into in the future?
I would love to be able to produce wrestling.
Yeah.
I've always been a big guy. Like, I love filming, and I love and typically I can't. But when I can, I've even like went to the point, if I knew like one of my guys, or even just one of my friends, they're having a really important match then, and we don't have anything but a hard cam, I'll throw on a hoodie and a mask over, just like a COVID mask, and run out and try to pretend that they don't know it's me, because I love filming wrestling matches, but I also love editing them. And I love I learned a lot from wrestling for Super Kicked in Toronto, because they put a lot of detail into not necessarily the where to be and why. I mean, they do, but it's just like I remember going there for the first time and be in the pre-show meeting. They're just like, when you get on the stage, stand there for 7 seconds, and it's going to feel like forever. But we need these shots, and like we need these shots to make the shows. We need these shots so when we put them on YouTube, everything makes sense and people can see you, and then we can use those as clips. And like those little things always stuck with me because I love that stuff. Like
Right.
so when I'm doing like if I'm about to edit a match and make like a highlight reel, or I'm going to make like a little vlog or something like that. Like I'm thinking those same things of like, hey, when you're out there, you have to stay in this point. You have to be here. You have to look this way. You have to pan a certain way. You have to like, because those things are all going to come back around, and I'm going to be sitting down editing it for 5-6 hours, and I'm going to be pissed at myself for doing something wrong, or someone being out of place, or me not, not feeding properly or coming up properly. And so it's definitely something that I've always been passionate about, but I've always just been on the opposite side of the camera. But I always have loved being the guy to sit down and produce it as well.
Before I give you the mic, Aaron, as we're nearing the end of the show, and you can put over whatever you want. Vanessa, the producer who booked this show, who always books this show all the time, deathly afraid of you. Deathly afraid. Vanessa, are you still afraid?
What did I do?
No, it's not. It's just like you said. Like I and Dreamer can attest to this. I am deathly afraid of Sammy Callahan.
Yeah, that's true.
So as soon as you said you were like doing the same era of Sammy Callahan, it clicked in my head of why. And it's a character. I'm not like I've never met you as a person, so I can't be scared of you as a person. But like when you come to the ring and you come for business, I am scared that you're gonna rip someone's head off, and that frightens me.
It's real. That's what he said. He's gonna make it real.
That's what it
I
is.
always think. I mean, it's funny because my daughter was just telling me about it earlier. She was just like, she has, a little group of friends that she'll go to the park with and hang out and stuff. And one of her kid, or one of the kids, he's like, definitely afraid of me. And he's like, made jokes about me being like a big scary guy and all this stuff like that. And they had like a little field day the other day. This was a while ago because it was when they're when they first, stopped school. So it was like basically right when summer break started for them. And we all three of us went, me, my son, and my daughter, and she's playing with her friends. She basically is acting, she doesn't know us, and I don't exist as a human. And me and Wyatt are just kind of walking around, and they have like little blow up inflatable play things and whatever. And Wyatt was super thirsty. I was like, okay, we'll walk out to the car, we'll get something to drink. And I looked at Bailey, and she's sitting there with her friend, and I was like, guys, don't leave this fence or I'm gonna kill you both. And I walked off, and his face was just it was like someone was holding a gun to his face. And my daughter, she knows me well, and she always says she's never understood. She's like, I don't understand why everyone hates you. I was like, well, Bailey, you see a very different side of me. Like I'm the dad that has her, his daughter, or I'm the dad that is wrapped around their daughter's finger. So
Right.
me on a completely different side, where this guy, this little kid, he's only seen me in this one aspect of just being this big scary guy. And she's laughing hysterically, and this kid has looked like he just like seen a ghost. And then I walk away, and then I laugh because I was like, man, I definitely shouldn't have said that, but I couldn't help myself. And then I was like, hopefully he can take the joke, and hopefully Bailey laughing will ease it. But it's just like in the moment, I can't help myself, and I just like kind of walked away. So I get it a lot, and especially if you only know me from wrestling. But that's where I get out it's like my where I get out all the anger. But that's also like it's just a very turned up it's a very turned up version of just who I am. I don't like I said, when I walk through that curtain, just like Stone Cold said, when I walk through that bitch, it's real to me.
Real, damn it. You've been phenomenal. I love everything I've heard tonight. I've loved everything I prepped. I'm so happy that Wyatt's. I can't wait for him to start school. It'd be great. We are nearing the end of the show, so I'm gonna give you the mic now. And you can put over whatever you want. You can bury anything you want. You can talk about how the name Aron Orion sounds like a superhero name. We were discussing that earlier. But the floor is yours. I will not interrupt.
Funny enough, my name's been Aron Orion since I was 14 years old, wrestling on my trampoline with my friends.
There you go.
I don't. Mighty Ducks movies, you'll know that Mighty Ducks 3, the bad guy coach is Coach Orion. That's where the Aron Orion, the name, comes from. So that's like a little tidbit of knowledge that some people don't know. But I always thought and I'm more like that guy than ever. Because that guy was such an asshole to the kids, and Charlie hated him, and everyone hated him. But then when you got to know him, he has this, his daughter's paralyzed, and he's, this, sweet, nice guy taking his daughter to the skating rink and skating her around in a wheelchair. And I'm like, I'm fucking basically goddamn Coach Orion at this point from Mighty Ducks 3. And, but that's where the name came from. So that's just a whole different thing. And, but yeah, we have tons of stuff going on. We're going to be, this week I have nothing going on because it's my kids are starting school on Monday, so I wanted to spend the weekend with them and make sure we're doing fun family stuff. But then coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be in Minnesota and Wisconsin wrestling for Iron Heart Wrestling, excuse me. And then we have tons of other stuff. You just have to check my social media, which is at DT Aron Orion on Instagram. That's going to be the best place to check everything out because I love Instagram the most, but I am on Twitter at Aron Orion and then Aron Orion on Facebook. And so the biggest match of my life and the match I'm most excited for is me versus Josh Alexander. And that's coming up on September 25th. And that's for Pure Pro Wrestling in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I want that place to, I don't know how, I know the market in Battle Creek isn't very, for wrestling, it's not drawing great at the moment. But if you are in Michigan and you've never seen Josh Alexander wrestle, then you need to be there. And if you are in Michigan, you have seen me wrestle, then you know that I need you there because this is a huge match for me. So I want all of the DTA fans, all the soldiers of the Death Row Army to come out and support. Like I said, this match means more than any other match I've ever had in my entire life. And it's the test to see if I am who I think I am. Against the best to ever do it, not to ever do it, but the best guy doing it in the world right now. Yeah. And join me on social media. We're always doing bullshit, and my kids are always on there. We do little Q&As. I am the pro wrestling dad. This is who I am, and hopefully there'll be more bits and stuff now that the kids are going back to school, and we can do fun stuff on that. And I'm always posting bullshit, and then maybe you won't be so scared of me.
Yeah, that pro wrestling dad stuff's great. Hashtag parenting 316. That's what I've been trying to push for sure. Aron, you've been phenomenal tonight. You're welcome back anytime. We took the forbidden door off a long time ago.
I appreciate you having me. I'm sorry that I was a couple minutes late. I was trying.
Hey, it's all good. We're a live show. That's the beauty of it. You pop in whenever you get here. So have a great night. Tell your family thank you for giving us the time as well. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, peace. Great stuff.